I can't think of, this totally remind me of, Naruto. Like, funny enough.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah. Thanks for pointing the joke out.
AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah. Open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boys Isaiah.
Yo, Ohio.
And none other than Lord Heaven.
What is Gucci shoes?
What are we here to talk about today? We're here to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, episode 14. We just got off of our live reaction. Really exciting stuff. Incredibly funny. I mean, they just nail it with this show. I'll preach it to high heaven. And we got some new OPs, some new EDs as well. So there's a lot to talk about in this episode. We're going to go into it. But make sure if you guys enjoy the content, that you guys are subscribing to the channel, you're liking the video, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What parts of this episode had a profound impact on you, or you just particularly enjoyed? And what are your thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole without spoiling anything? And like I said, we just had our live reaction, so you definitely want to go check out our AoA Reacts channel, which is our reaction channel, which we have in our description. Link is down there, where you can check out our reaction to Jujutsu Kaisen, among many other reactions to things like Attack on Titan, Dr. Stone as of late. We have a surprise one coming up, which I won't say. You got to subscribe to find it out. We got Gavin on his ghost stories. We got everything over there, so go check it out if you like our reactions, and then tune in back here to catch these discussions. And last thing, if you guys wanted to cop some merch, our deal is running out of time until the end of January. 20% off every single thing in the AoA store, whether it's this shirt, whether it's that shirt, whether it's a hoodie, whether it's leggings, joggers, you name it, it's all there. 20% off. Just use the code AOA 2021. That's AOA 2021 at checkout to get 20% off of every single item in that store. But anyway, that's enough with the plugs for now. Let's get into this episode. Talk to me. What did you guys like about this episode? I have to say, I just love the comedy, and I will say it again. This is something that has to be done right, I feel, in this show, due to the fact that this show can be so damn dark at times that I think they strike the perfect balance between alleviating some of that just depressing thing that weight could be put on your chest from time to time. And I thought that an episode like this, while not a crazy amount happened, there was a little bit of exposition, there was kind of some setup for things to come, etc. But, you know, long story short, there wasn't a crazy amount of plot progression, I would say, or narrative progression, but it was hella funny. So that was one thing I particularly enjoyed in this, and it just really solidified the characters I love, and for the reasons I love them, especially the ones that carry that comedic value, i.e. Itadori for me, and Gojo is just absolutely hysterical in conjunction with people like, forgot his name, but the really Jack guy who simps on the Twitch streamer, as I'm calling her. Yeah.
Aoi,
or some with an M, I thought. I don't know. I forgot his name. Correct.
Jack, dude.
Yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong. He just judges people for not liking booty. But anyway, so that was some really cool stuff. But I am curious to know what your guys' thoughts, official thoughts for everyone to know here, were on the new OP and the new ED, because we got some new ones with the return of Jujutsu Kaisen. Hit me. What do you got, Gavin?
Oh, starting with me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want both OP and ED?
Yeah.
Okay,
What'd you think about them?
So OP. Hard because the first one slapped, and I mean slapped hard. And like, open mind, not bad by any stretch. Like, it's not bad. It slapped. I thought it was pretty good. Like, the vibe really kind of matched the show. It had like more, you know, like rock in a sense, or like a little bit harder. I can get behind it. Pretty dope. But it was like it took the next level on the animation, I feel like. Although it's hard because I kind of contradict myself, and I still like the first one as it is. Like, they definitely did add new elements to it, some new fighting scenes, our characters in a different light, and I thought it all synergized very well with the new song, so I respect that. However, I would have also been A1 if you just left the first one and never even messed with it to begin with, because I kind of also thought that one slapped even more. So, back and forth, I'm okay with it. First one was better if you had a gun to my head. However, I'm not complaining. They didn't butcher it by any sense, and I live on day to day. For me, what's the most interesting is the ED, because obviously, again, in season one, that ED was like you always jam to that song. Like, you're always dancing, you're always going. I loved, like, how, like, out of the box creative, very artistic, you know, just the way what they did the animation, and the song was very, like, bubbly and fluid, and honestly, it was amazing. However, it got me really interested listening to this new ED because I almost found it sophisticated in a way. And I don't know if it's not necessarily too sophisticated for the show, but when I was listening to it, I was really trying to hone in on like the symmetry. If you watched our live reaction, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but they were really showing them in a human element as like friends, as students going to the beach, doing these things together. And it's very like happy, friendly, and okay. And I feel like that's it's good to look at because on the contrast, you're against these curses who seemingly don't, I mean, they live in their, like, they have their beach days and stuff like that, but that isn't their lifestyle or their outlook on life, you know? It can be very negative in a sense, and that can be glossed over by the comedy in this show. However, I thought it was a very sophisticated outlook that they took in having a very mellow song and have these events carry out in it, and I really feel like they're trying to drive home, a greater picture that's going to happen and a greater change. So I'm interested how that plays along, especially coming after something so bubbly and artistic in the first one. So it's interesting. I'm willing to see how they age. I got to say again, I do like the first one more, but just for pure aesthetic and like get me up in hype aspects. But I do feel like this one is a silent sleeper and that it's going to have more meaning to it in the end. So I'm curious to what it is going to lead to. But that is my opinion on both the OP and the ED. That cut out at the end, but it's all good.
No worries. Well said, sir. Isaiah, what do you think?
They're cool. I definitely like the first OP and ED way more. I don't know. I don't really have the first the first OP. I don't know. I think like animation wise and sort of like the story that it tells, like the way it sets up the world of Jujutsu Kaisen and the characters, which I guess like you could argue would get like repetitive maybe by this part of the show, but like I don't know. I think it did because this one felt like a little too shonen-y, a little too like, all right, I've seen this before. Everybody's running through the trees and then the light flashes and you know you're in like this fight. Everybody's fighting and flying around this random like thing that I don't know. It didn't hit me. It didn't like leave any sort of impression as well as the first one did. And the song was just kind of meh. And I kind of felt the same way about the ED, even more so, like just because of the drastic drop in like, all right, this isn't like, you know, like get you up out of your seat, like hype, sort of like steady come down. This is like drop from like, you know, wherever you're at in the show, which is presumably some crazy thing that just happened. Sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a whole lot more that I gleaned from it. The ED, meaning,
no,
that
doesn't have to be.
You know, that stuff. It was just, you know, it was cool to see them in like the moderns or like, you know, in regular clothes and like doing normal people things. That was it.
Yeah, I was just curious because obviously, like we said, the first ones were really good. I'm sure a lot of people like them, and I just feel it's like, we might as well just give our thoughts real quick. I mean, just to go over mine quickly, I really like the animation actually for the new OP, and I want to say that I like it even a little bit more personally than the first OP. The first OP song, though, is just like really good. But I really liked the second OP, and if I have to say, I ranked them kind of close. I have to edge it out to the first one a little bit more. But I have a feeling, again, that this is going to be something that grows on me as we go. Because to be honest, when I listened to the first OP, it took me maybe an episode or two, you know, before I started to appreciate it. So I'm, you know, curious to see if my mindset changes or I start to see things within it. I thought the animation was fantastic, but yeah, that song just really slapped from the first one. I mean, I listened to that just normally, you know what I mean, OP or not. But the ED, I have to say, I'm a little shaky. I totally agree with Gavin because we actually mentioned that during the live reaction. I was like, what is the symbolism here? Like, they're clearly trying to show something with like the phone, and we find out that Itadori is recording them the whole time, so it really highlights the human element and the friendship thing, and that Itadori doesn't have to just be an onlooker, at least is what I perceive from it, but he's able to then join them at the end, so it's like he doesn't have to be so detached. Maybe that's because he's Sukuna's vessel, and now we have, which we'll talk about, the principal is, you know, telling the children to go kill him. So there's like things along that line. So it's like he has people to fall back on. He's people that accept him for who he is, vessel or not. That's at least what I derive from it. And I thought that was really good. They did a great job of doing that. And I will say, I you know, had that synergy was definitely way more so than the first one. But I have to say that the ED was like a little too slow for me, where it was like I could see where you're coming down on that mellow. You know, it's like, oh, okay, you just saw some crazy stuff. Let's relax. Everything's going to be okay. But I thought it was just a little too into that camp for me personally. And the first one, man, was just a vibe. Like, that's really all it was. I mean, the animation was just cool because it was different. It didn't really synergize per se with anything, and it didn't seem to be any sort of underlying meaning. But damn if that song didn't hit and hit hard. I just couldn't help but just like every single time that ED came on, I was just bumping. You know what I mean? I couldn't help myself. But anyway, initial impressions on the OP-ED. Let us know in the comments what you thought about those. I was just curious. But anyway, let's talk about this episode just in general. Is there anything in particular that one of you guys wanted to talk about so I could shut up?
I like a lot of the exposition stuff that we got. So I like a lot, like, when the first years meet the second years, there's the line that the dude who always has his eyes closed, when he refers to Megami, and he's like, oh, he's from, I think he says the Zen bloodline or the Zen bloodline or something like that. And that's why he's so talented and special, and that like he's one of the best in that bloodline, which I think ties back to what Sucuna saw in Megami, where he's like, oh, there's something like special or different. So I am now going to double down on the idea that like this is some Uchiha, where it's like, you know, he is part of this bloodline and he's like a, you know, prodigy in it, and like that will, you know, entitle him to learn X ability that will be able to either exercise demons or control them in some way, or like he's, you know, and obviously like Sukuna's said, like alluded to this before, but like he's going to be the key to doing something or being able to stop them or whatever. So that was interesting to get like a little bit more. It's like, oh, it's not just, because at first I thought it was just Megami, like just by himself, but it's like it's clan, you know, it's his family thing. So that was pretty cool. I like that Gojo and like company finally seem to be like hopping on the like, I think we've got a traitor among us, because like it's been a while of this dude cooking up schemes and throwing like random high level demons and stuff at them, and they've just been like, wow, what's happening? It's like I think we should talk about this. So you know, of course, because Gojo's just, you know, incredible. He's, you know, he's on that. He's like, yeah, we got a traitor. We should probably like start investigating this nonsense. And I like the idea that these, you know, that while Gojo and the woman that he's talking to with the purple hair, whose name I don't even remember, are like trying to do this, but they're clearly like, you know, for the concern of the students, and like they want to keep everybody safe. You've got like the principal and like maybe some of the, you know, the more loyal, I guess, second years who are a little bit more like, nah, them, like they're wrong. Everything they say is wrong. Because that clearly seems like it's going to be a point of contention later in these couple episodes. I mean, we even have the principal being like, go kill Itadori. So it's like, all right, cool. There's the conflict. But I don't know. I like a lot of, because like you were saying, not a lot of like plot moves forward, but they do hint at a lot of like expository elements in the story, and a lot of, even with the very first scene with the cursed spirits, all basically being like, all right, what's the plan here? Like, you know, because in my head it was like, okay, with the whole incident that happened at the school, like that could have been the end of it, right? Where it's like, Mihito failed his plan to get Sukuna. They, you know,
Drop the mic.
They go, you know, run off or whatever and just do whatever. But like, it's, you know, they're like, okay, we've got to take I think the plan of like slow and steady wins the race is going to work here. Because if we just let Itadori get these fingers at like the way we want to, like, you know, at the end of the day for us, like we just, cursed spirits got to win. We could not even be here on this planet when they do win, but like as long as cursed spirits are the ultimate victor, the long-term here, like we're good.
That's a scary proposition too.
Exactly.
Anyone that's willing to just give up their own life and stake it on the fact that their descendants, or like, I don't care if this doesn't involve me in it, is a scary opponent to go up against, because they don't care about.
Well,
their
it's
own
like
life.
they don't. Their whole thing is like, you know, they're fighting for the cause of the cursed spirits. It's not like I have to be the best cursed spirit.
Yeah.
It's like I want cursed spirits as a whole to win, which means like could be me who's alive when it happens. It could be some other cursed spirit. It doesn't matter. So that's a much more, because it's like, how do you fight an idea? How do you fight the, you know, you have to kill cursed spirits as a whole, as an entity, which is obviously going to be another thing here. So I like a lot of that stuff, and like you were saying before, there's a lot of comedic moments and funny things, especially with, I'm pretty sure that dude's name is AoE, like AoI.
Which guy?
Boy, the big Jack guy.
Oh, okay.
Who did a lot of the comedic stuff.
Yeah, you got to forgive me. We're covering like 5 shows right now
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and there's just so many characters I forgot their names.
But anyway, I point him out also because I think he's a very standout character to me, because when that whole scene was going down with the second years, he was, you know, and in the moment it's like, all right, you guys, I want to go listen to, you know, whatever that girl's name is that he likes. Like, I want to go watch her do her thing live. But I do actually think that he's got like a very strict moral compass that won't allow him to fall under the same, pact or a operation that the principal has on here, where he's just trying to kill his student for, for his reasons. He's like, no, I'm not like the reason he gave, I think, is where he stands, but I think it goes deeper than what he led on. So I think he's going to be a very pivotal character in the second year group and the first year group, like coming to terms. So I'm curious to see how that happens.
Gavin, what do you got?
All right, so yeah, I echo pretty much everything that Isaiah said about what he went over. So I guess to touch some different topics, what stuck out for me was honestly just Gojo, Kento, and Itadori. Like, it started with that. I was actually like almost in tears that entire episode just from the comedy itself, and it really started when Kento made that like kind of snide remark to Gojo when he's like, oh, like, you need to keep up this energy more or less for when Itadori comes in. He needs your like idiocrity or something like that. And then as soon as Itadori comes in, makes his entrance, dude, right a part of it. It was amazing. He's like, we're gonna introduce you to your friends. They're gonna cry. They're gonna vomit. Their global warming is just gonna be like absolutely fixed. And I was like, these are my kind of people, bro. Like, thank you. I have your mindset. Like, let's go. We got this now. But I love that. I can eat that stuff all day. And then we move on to skipping stuff in between. But when they finally do have the reveal of Itadori, and he has this whole little setup, wheeling the little like card around, giving people. He's like, oh, Tokyo gifts, like ooh, and then he like opens it. He like makes a little thing, and then nothing happens, and then like it opens, and Itadori comes out, and they're just like not having it. They're just like stone cold face, like
who would have thought?
Like, but yeah, who would have thought? And then you get that reality, and then dude, icing on the cake was when the principal comes down, and then Gojo is just like, oh, he's like trying to do damage control, and this the principal's like, you run, and it's just like, oh my god, hilarious, almost dying. Definitely was the pinnacle of the episode for me, and getting more explanation and exposition on I'm gonna call him Salmon Guy, the one who I'm so sorry, we don't know names either way.
He's been dubbed Salmon Guy.
He's been dubbed Salmon Guy. Yeah, Salmon Guy. But yeah, I really honestly, I love him as a character. He's like, as weird as it sounds, he hasn't done much. He is probably like has one of my favorite abilities. I don't know why. There's just something about when I saw him, I'm like, you look dope. I really like you. I'm on your train. And honestly, I feel like he could be one of my number one characters soon.
I mean, it's referenced that he is silly strong. I do find his character. Yeah, I do find his character pretty interesting because he literally has, in a symbolic way, not to go too deep on this, but has the power of speech, which is something that can move mountains. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that is the birth of ideas. That is how things go forward. And obviously, it's on a much more Jujutsu Kaisen plane, right? It's not like because he can talk, you know what I mean? It's like, but I do find it interesting that through the power of his speech alone, he can literally speak things not into being per se, but to like alter it or exude power from that, right? And I find that to be a very interesting ability just on the scale, right? Because they have, you could summon spirits, you're just jacked, you have all these different things, but I think that's cool, and I really appreciated how they went into the lore or the explanation of how his power works, which I forgot half of it already, so I sound stupid saying that, but I'll rewatch it. And like all the intricacies of that. And that's one thing that I'll preach up and down with this show and that I love it. And one of the reasons that I love Hunter x Hunter is because they do a fantastic job at explaining abilities and not just like, let's take a whole episode to do this. They intermingle it within the show where it's like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. So now when he goes forward and he says like, blah, you know what I mean? And like somebody explodes, you're like, oh, like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand why that was a thing.
That's what he does.
Yeah. Now it is kind of interesting how they're like, he just has to limit his vocabulary because of like X thing, and I'll just be like, salmon. Like he says something that just seems completely unrelated to the conversation, which it wasn't technically unrelated.
I think it's like if he says something that has any context,
yeah,
like, it could happen. So if he says something so out of context, like there's no way.
I just found it comical personally.
Yeah, I remember when they did reference it initially, there was a reason why, and I might butcher it, but I think it's like sushi is his favorite type of food, so it's only limited to different like types of sushi or toppings on sushi. That's why it's like bonito flakes or like salmon or like it's like limited to sushi. I don't remember why, but like there is a reason why they gave it for it, and it's honestly just amazing because sushi is the best. So he gets even more love from me.
No, he's hilarious. Is the conception of his character is nuts. But like getting back to my initial point, I just love his ability, because again, how I've described, like, speech is such a powerful thing if you relate it to a real world context or just in general, right? It's what gives us the ability as people over, you know, animals of the earth and all that kind of stuff. But I do love that he has to be sparing with it, right? That he's not able to just kind of spout off with anything as to hurt someone else or himself. And that's not me telling you to shut up, you know, but I'm saying I think it's interesting that it's like, I think the lesson for me is like, choose your words carefully. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, have conviction in what it is that you're saying and have resolve in that. You know what I mean? Like that is my belief. X thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's where his power derives from. And I totally just went off on a tangent, but I just found his character interesting for that reason. But I did want to get into Isaiah's point that he made earlier, and I used to call him, was it Fuji? But now you call him, who's the prodigy? Megami.
Yeah.
You started calling him that, and then I'm like, damn, what did I used to call him? And
It's
I
the
screwed the whole
fucking
thing
Bam
up.
Bomb thing
Yeah,
where like
Megami.
Megami is his first name.
That's easier,
Fuji's his
actually.
last name.
Okay.
Just calling him whatever the fuck I want. They're both his names, so they're both right.
So Megami,
At
Fuji,
me.
whatever. Prediction. So not really much evidence to go off of this, but I think, and this kind of sparked my idea here when you were talking about, you know, his how he's a prodigy and, you know, how he could potentially control things beyond whatever spirits he does. I'm actually wondering if Sukuna has an end goal here, and if it is to use Fuji as almost either subjugated, like he doesn't have a choice, or right-hand man if he turns him over, whatever. I don't know how he gets there, but I wonder if the end goal is for him to be able to control curses or summon like curses on a dime, for like more of like a mass army style thing. So I could be totally out of the realm of possibility. And also Sukuna is just so damn powerful that you could argue that it's like, well, he doesn't actually need any other cursed spirits. Fair enough. You know what I mean? But I figured he's only got 4 arms, so he can only do so much at one given time. You know what I mean? Like, he might need some help if it's like, hey, go across the planet and like make my life a little bit easier. I don't know. Like, he's obviously stupid strong, but I'm curious to know like what Sukuna's end goal is. I've been curious about this since he brought it up. Ever since he was like something about him, I'm like, what are you thinking, dude? Like, what is the connection here? And I'm wondering if Fuji has a latent ability at some point to be able to alter the minds or spirits of, or souls rather, of curses, but not on like a mojito sense, but like an actual like, you know, control you type thing. And if that plays a role in what it is that he's doing. But
I think you could be right, but I think I think ultimately that's why Sukuna is taking interest in him as a potential threat, not like a potential ally, because I think Sukuna's egotistical like his personality is on like a literal another plane of existence. And as far as Sukuna is concerned, like if you're not Sukuna, you're nothing. Like Sukuna doesn't work with people because everybody that like is at his level is a potential threat to him. He doesn't want people around him that are, you know, allies, because that means that person is strong enough to be within his realm of like standing, and that means that they could potentially overthrow him. So like in his mind, it's me or nobody. Like,
no, that's a fantastic point. My only rebuttal to that is when we see when he initially does not kill Fuji, when he has the ability to do so. He does not have the pact with Itadori yet that he says, I won't hurt your companions. He actually goes out with the full intent to hurt his companions and decides not to. In that moment, theoretically, he could have killed him if he wanted to. And it's not until after that he makes the pact with Itadori saying, I won't hurt your friends. And then we have the internal monologue or the internal thought in Sukuna's mind saying, because I find X person interesting. So the only thing with that is that I think if it was like, okay, you're going to be like a potential threat that I have to eliminate, it wouldn't be so much of like, I'm going to keep an eye on you because there's something about you, and more of like, I would have killed you when I had the chance if there was any semblance of you being a threat to my power.
I guess my thing is like finding him interesting and finding him valuable are two different things. So like if he was like, oh, there's value in this kid, then it's like, okay, that's why he's keeping him alive. But it's like if it's just because he finds something interesting about him, it might be like literally nothing more than a whim. He might like potentially see something in Megami, and just that alone. Because again, like I think like at least to me personally, like Sukuna's, I would have never underestimated Sukuna's arrogance. Like Sukuna is a being that literally believes he's above everything else. So like if there's the idea that it's like, oh, I could let this guy live and like see if he comes to fruition in the way that I think he might. But that also could have a downside of him like coming after Sucuna. That's not even a problem for him because he's so confident that he could still overturn Megami and still beat him that like it's worth the risk to him because there is no risk, at least to him. Because he's just, I do think it's just because he's that arrogant about the situation that he's like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know?
The only thing that makes me think against that is because of the hurdles that Sukuna went through when he really didn't have to in order to establish that pact with Itadori. Because when he's in Itadori, when Itadori's in his realm within his mind, he's like, make a pact. Itadori's like, no. Make a pact. Okay, if I do this, are you going to make a pact? Like, for someone who is as arrogant as Sukuna, it just seems odd to me that he would break character in that sense and go through hurdles to make a pact with a person that theoretically is established could be dead. He doesn't need to make a pact with him, and especially one that's so limiting on Sukuna, right? Because Sukuna says, I'm not going to hurt your friends. Who do your friends involve? Basically everyone at Jujutsu Tech, which is the main enemy of Sukuna, right? So I'm very curious to see. I think personally, and you know, I'll drop it at this. I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments down below, but I can't help but think there's some sort of more grandiose thing that involves him because I couldn't expect Sukuna. I couldn't wager that Sukuna would go through such hurdles, although they might not seem it. They seem to be for Sukuna, given his character, to make this a potential thing. But anyway, I'll shut up about it now. Just a theory. Found it interesting. But Gavin's over there dying. You all right? Okay, good. Anyway, but beyond that, I mean, the only other thing that I was thinking of was I just thought it was interesting with the, you know, Gojo's, you know, his going against the grain with all that, but that's kind of been something that we've talked about prior, and that old man who wants to kill him and what their plan is, but I'm just really curious. I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this, or if you want to bring up anything else on, I'm going to forget his name. The mastermind, the traitor, the guy who's with the cursed spirits. Correct. And he's got like the Post Malone tat on his head. What the hell's that guy's name? Some of the G,
I
go.
I don't remember.
Goji? I don't know, whatever. Sorry.
One for one.
No, it's not Goji.
No, when you said it, you were like Goji. I was like,
it's
Goji.
totally not Goji. I don't even know where I came up with that. But anyway, I'm curious. That's the other guy that I'm just like, what the hell are you planning? Like, I want to know these big brain schemes that you have going on. You know, they established that they're like, we just need Sukuna. Why do you want curses to be a thing? Are you willing to give up your life? Was that just Volcano Head who said he was going to? And he's like, yeah, I'll give it up too.
Has he already given up his life?
Yeah, like,
Maybe
I don't know.
He's like already a cursed spirit that takes on that
what is
human
his
form?
What is his deal? You know, I'm curious to know if you guys have thoughts or if you want to bring up anything else, but the floor is open.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said before, I do think it's interesting that like their plan here is like essentially, at least right now, like very much in their favor because the goal, like their goal is sort of like weirdly aligned with what Jujutsu Tech is trying to get, or at least some of the people, like i.e. the Gojos, are trying to get out of Itadori and like the whole him being Sukuna's vessel. Like they just, you know, in a sense, like he said, just actually waiting it out isn't going to work because A, they might kill Itadori before this happens, or B, this could take literally like years and years and years. But that their plan is they want the same thing. They want Itadori to get all these fingers. They want Sukuna to be brought back to life, and they ultimately just want curses to reign supreme over the world. Sure. So with that, yeah, it's definitely because this guy definitely seems to be like above Mojito and above Volcano Head. Like they are, you know, they clearly are like the cogs in this machine, sure. Right? Where this guy is like, he's the one who's put all this together. He's the one who's brought everybody together. And even the other demon who like has like the one missing arm and like the cast and makes the flowers or whatever. But this guy seems to be like he's putting all these chess pieces on the board here. He's the one that moves them whenever he wants. And so it's like, yeah, he's clearly, I wouldn't even go so far as to say he's like the mastermind, like, you know, the ultimate, like the very last boss type beat. But I do think he's like the one trying, he's, you know, the one underneath that, right? Or he's the one, you know, but like, yeah, I guess we just don't, you know, it's like, why? Because what does he get out of a world of cursed spirits if he himself is not a cursed spirit, which would lead me to believe that he is a cursed spirit just taking on a human form, or maybe he is a human who really wants to be a cursed spirit. Maybe it's like, I can't think of, this totally remind me of, Naruto. Like, funny enough.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah. Thanks for pointing the joke out. Sasori, who's like ends up turning himself into a puppet because of the, you know, the the life that he's lived like as a human and stuff. It's like I wonder if this is somebody who's like so fed up with the way Jujutsu sorcerers and maybe just humans as a whole have handled existence or handled the earth or life in general, and believes that like cursed spirits actually have like the more valid argument. Or maybe this is like a situation where he's not taking like a moral high ground, but it's like, no, I'm done. Like humans have f***ed me over personally, like one too many times, and I just want the world to burn. If it burns with cursed spirits, I don't care. I just don't want humans in it anymore. Like they've done too much harm type beat. I don't know.
Interesting. Gavin, thoughts on, doesn't have to be that, but just in general, the episode, and then give me some predictions when you're done for what the next episode holds.
Oh god, next episode. I don't know. I guess
you
I'll
don't have to go on that first.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess with Isaiah, I don't know. I'd like to. I actually do agree with the things that you're saying about that guy. It's weird because like it is hard to try to detect his intentions early on, because it's either got to be something like that or just like somehow pure power, where he's like, if I help the cursed spirits in this way, I'll be like a leg up in their society compared to like just having the inability to do it in normal society because of someone like Gojo. He'll never be the number one, the best. But it's like weird because you also know that there's someone like Sucuna who like is also that number one, so it's like you're not going to get to that list. So it's like that just contradicts itself, and it really leaves you with like why, like bro, who beat you as a kid or something? You know, it's like what has caused you to get to this level? Because it had to be something drastic, I'd assume, or just on a whim of boredom, like I don't like humanity anymore. So that's interesting. I don't know. Another part that I was going to go on that I just completely forgot is I have no clue. Predictions for the next episode. I had something else, but I actually don't know, so I'll just keep on moving with it. I am curious to see how I'm going to call him Salmon Dude. I already forgot the guy who projects his voice. I'm curious how he's going to be projected in the fight, because obviously it was brought up with the principal and those kids that running into him in a certain scenario with Itadori can be very dangerous because he can wipe out pretty much all of them in one fatal swoop. And then another guy, I don't remember the name, also mentioned that, hey, but if we know that he's coming and we prepare for it, it won't be as bad as we think. So I'm really curious to what counter they might have against him specifically. And obviously I feel like that's going to play a role into a fight now where you have this guy come out, let his speech out. It's going to ruffle some of their feathers and it's going to look like the tables are turned. But then all of a sudden it's like, no, we were planning this, like not like reverse Uno card on reverse Uno card. And like, I'm really wondering how that fight is going to be choreographed and like really funnel through with everything. Because in the end, you have that other chick who's like, oh, I want to fight like Maggie one-on-one, you know? And it's like, you already know their rivalry. So like, it's definitely going to be interesting and hypey. I can't wait. I'm curious to see, Itadori's fight and how that ends up, and if anybody dies, because I mean, obviously it was stated that you're not supposed to kill any students. However, like supposed to an accidents can happen, I suppose. And it's
That'd
like
be a wild twist.
You know, it would be a weird twist if a kid got iced and now we got like even more problems to deal with, and then it like rehashes almost something else. So,
right,
I don't know.
Salmon Kid, his name is Toge.
Toge.
And the big mastermind demon guy, Suguru.
Suguru?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have a last name?
Yeah, because he's not my dog.
Ghetto. That's it. Done.
Ghetto?
He lives in the ghetto. Yeah.
Really?
Ghetto.
Suguru's too hard for you?
Yes. Ghetto's much easier, I'll tell you that. All right, Ghetto.
So,
I knew it was with a G.
Just so we know.
Yes, thank you. And Toge. His toe is gay.
Wow,
I'm just going to call him Salmon, bro, and I'm going to call it that.
Okay.
What? That's fine. Whatever.
Look, now when people
Not judging.
flame us for the names, like, I tried.
Yeah.
All right?
I'm just saying that's how I remember things. You got to like visualize it. You know what I'm saying?
I tried. You can't don't come at me.
Yes. Whatever. No big deal. Anyway, but Ghetto. Yes, I actually real quick. I was wondering because when you guys were talking about this, I wonder if his thing is he's actually using the curses. So I wonder if, well, like clearly he's not a good guy because he wouldn't be going through like, so I don't think it's like some big ploy where it's like, I'm undercover and surprise guys, I was actually on your side the whole time. But like more so using them against the Jujutsu sorcerers, knowing how to pit them against each other. But he actually doesn't even want the curses to win, or if he does, not on such a scale where it like literally ends the earth, or there's some sort of individual motive that he has or something to gain on that no one knows about, because he seems to be hella quiet. Like he seems to be very vocal on like, this is how you're going to disrupt this. This is why I gave him the fingers. This is what they're going to do next. But he's not very vocal on like what his actual end goal is. He's always very vague. He says, okay, if you want to win, you have to get rid of Gojo, you got to revive Sukuna. If you want to do this, you got to do this. If you want to do this, but he never explicitly states, this is what I want to do because this. So I'm curious to know what his ulterior motive is, and if it's something that he's hiding even from the cursed spirits, and that it's something where it's like he needs the cursed spirits to win in this fight against the sorcerers, but if they do, it like creates a vacuum for him to do something. I don't know what that is. It doesn't necessarily have to be that he's in charge of the sorcerers or whatever, but it could be something totally different.
What if his ability, because we haven't seen him fight, is that he can absorb cursed spirits? And so maybe his plan here is to revive Sukuna so that he can try and absorb Sukuna right as he gets revived. And then like maybe that's the thing where it's like, oh, why don't you just absorb Itadori? But like he needs Sukuna to be fully revived in order to, because he can only absorb cursed spirits when they're like fully, realized. So then he absorbs Sukuna, and then in that world of cursed spirits, where cursed spirits reign supreme, he does get to be number one because he is effectively now the strongest cursed spirit in existence.
That'd be interesting.
If that's his ability. If it's not, that matches up,
yeah. And something I guess to add to that, or something to add to that, I guess, is what was interesting when they mentioned his character specifically, and they also mentioned the sophistication of the curses now and how they're able to speak and have all of these other abilities. If maybe he can somehow physically alter cursed spirits in a way, like make them stronger, give them buffs, or like physically add something to him, like a sophistication aspect of him. Like I don't know, he might just be the buff guy who's like, take this cursed spirit, I give him my energy, and now he's like super broken cursed spirit. Because it's interesting how it's like I can't imagine him playing teacher and he's like, okay, little cursed spirit, like 2 + 2 is 4. Like there's a weird bridge that now he's in the picture, now there is sophistication and there's more of them. So like, is he creating them? Is it like a form of breeding them in a sense, or like or is he able to almost buff them? I don't know. It's interesting, but
that is one of the things that I am most excited or interested in seeing is Geto's end goal and Sukuna's end goal. What those are and what role Fuji plays in Sukuna's end goal.
So I guess we just need them to meet.
Yeah, I've just got to know, man. Like that's the thing. And predictions, man, I don't know. Not really. I mean, predictions, I don't think anyone's going to die, although that'd be nuts. I mean, I have been wrong on things. I mean, they got us in the first half with that OP and, the kid who got turned into the thing. But, so I don't know. Could be. I don't think it's going to happen. But, obviously, they're not going to kill Itadori. I think it'd be a little redundant to kill him twice within such a small time frame. But I do think that Musclehead is going to have some sort of defection, and we're going to see a little bit more of the other characters fleshed out beyond Itadori now. And I think it's going to come down to, what his immediate teammates and then those everyone in the school, their thoughts and how they're going to band together. And one of the things that they said was, okay, you guys are going to find out a lot about yourselves during this, right? So I have a feeling that we're going to sprinkle throughout these episodes. We're going to get a little bit of more backstory or, what these people are about on an individual level, at least the ones that are going to matter going forward. Mean to say, but I mean, we can't have them all. And I really just want to see this panda cut loose, to be honest with you, because it's like, bro, you put him in you put him in here. We got a panda. It's established. You put him in the OP, like hard. You put him in. He that little like pole vault. He like hopped over the thing on the first one, and then now on this one he's like roaring and stuff. I gotta see.
He's done a lot.
He's done a lot.
Yeah, he needs that theme song like Legacy. Panda. What are you looking at? Panda. I don't even remember, that's his theme song, bro. I need to see it every time.
No, dude, I just want to see what this guy's capable of, and if he cuts loose, if like he's the real deal, and it's like, okay, this guy's going to be part of the squad moving forward, like just past the whole school arc here, or if it's like, I want to see what this panda's about. I'm here for it. You got the balls to put a panda in your show as like an actual character. Like he better be badass. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, like, why was he there?
Talk about this like they're reinventing the scope here.
I'm
like,
just
dude,
saying,
they
bro.
put a panda in anime.
I'm just saying, dude. They even make references to it. Like Itadori's like, oh, you a new breed of panda, and like they make references like constantly about how like they know how ridiculous it is that they put a panda. And I'm just curious to see if it's like he's really up to snuff. You know?
Real prediction. What's his name? Toge.
Toge.
Yeah. All right. Toge, when he unleashes his mouth, he is actually the secret OP rapper. And then you got the panda, who is like the literal breakdancing panda of death. And as he's spinning and doing these moves, he's like beheading people. He's going crazy. And this guy's singing and amplifying him. And then he closes his mouth. Dancing's done. Panda not so OP. But I'm just saying that's canon. I wrote your story. Jujutsu Kaisen, end of frame.
Yep, that's canon. Isaiah, what do you got?
What it is. First off, his name is Aoi Toto, the big muscle guy. So pick one name.
Aoi.
Aoi. AoA.
Aoi. Okay, yeah. There you go.
I'm gonna literally just scream.
I
"Owie"
stubbed
now.
my gay toe. Owie! Boom! There we go. I got it. That's it. All right, move on.
Anyway, oh, ridiculous.
We are.
Predictions. I'm definitely excited for this student exchange event thing. I think during this event we're gonna see. You know what? I'm gonna say this now. I do actually think somebody's gonna die.
Really?
Don't know who,
Death
but
camp.
I totally think. I don't know what that is. I do
You're in the camp of death
totally think that with the whole principle being like, go kill Itadori, that like Itadori's not gonna die, but like that's not gonna end with like, oh, it was just a miss. No, like somebody's losing their life over this, and I think that's has to happen because that's what's gonna like unify all these students. Whether it is like, no, principal, we need to go do our own thing. We're gonna go exercise demons like our way. Or if it just unifies them in a sense that it's like, hey guys, the whole reason the principal ever got like this is because in a way he's just been so like warped and beaten down and twisted by the his job and profession, which is to get rid of cursed spirits. He still wants to get rid of cursed spirits the way Gojo, they just go about it different ways. So like if it in a sense unifies them against the cursed spirits even more, and it's like, all right guys, it doesn't matter if we're first years, second years, like the cursed spirits are the enemy here. Like that's it. Like let's go get them. So I do think that it'd be unfortunate, obviously, but like one of the students dying in this event would be a good way to do that. And the show has clearly proven it's not above going the dark route to get its story across. And also, I think again, like with Itadori's character, where we've seen him go in the last couple episodes, it's definitely established this like Itadori being this bright and optimistic protagonist is gonna have to trudge through like a lot of negativity and like a lot of dark. Like and the whole thing here, right, is that like, can he overcome it? Can he fight against it? How many times can that kind of life or that way beat against him before he's beaten down to a point where he can't get back up? Or can he get, what I mean? So like, I think again, you just kind of have to keep throwing that at him and see how he reacts to it. See if like the next one you give him, the next blow he gets is one that's just too hard that he can't take, or you know what I mean? So I think
that, or what would also be interesting is if Itadori himself doesn't kill someone, but if it's now one of his friends who just figure out he's alive, i.e. like Fuji or something like that, because it's like, oh, we now got him back, we can't let him go because of these ideals or something like that. And I'm curious if the guy with his eyes shut plays a role in it, because he seemed like he was the most steadfast in we're following this out, and if he does die, he wouldn't even see it coming. So
I think it's going to be either.
Got him.
I think it's going to be a second year. I don't actually think any of the first years are going to die.
Interesting.
I think it's going to be either anybody who is slightly hesitant about this whole mission to kill Itadori, so i.e. that blue-haired girl that we met who's like a huge Gojo fan. How can you not be? Or somebody who's on the opposite pole, who's like so gung-ho about this that like they end up being, like they're like, no, we have to kill him. And then like they end up having to kill the student as like a counter to keep him away from Itadori, because again, Itadori ends up sort of like bringing all the other students
That's what
together.
I was getting at with the guy with the closed eye guy, because he seemed like the most keen on the plan of fulfilling killing Itadori. Like when the principal was saying it,
okay. I was
like
confusing it. I thought you were talking about somebody.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Like possibly him, because like he legitimately was like, no, we're going through.
But I do
with
think
this,
it's going to be a second year.
Plot twist: guy with his eyes shut working for Ghetto. That would be crazy, considering he has a way to counter the one kid's voice and Togei's voice, and he also is like really gung ho about killing him. Maybe he's doing it. Never mind. I'm just talking out of my ass.
Well, remember, Ghetto doesn't want Itadori killed.
You're right. That was stupid. Disregard everything I said. Anyway, I think we've basically hit all the plot points. I think we're wrapping up now.
Look at the time.
Ooh, man, that appointment I had to be at. Anyway, it's all in good fun, folks. But anyway, that is our discussion on Jujutsu Kaisen episode 14. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We sure had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of interesting things going around, a lot of theories, etc. Let us know all of your thoughts as well in the comments down below. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and sharing with your friends as well. Really goes a long way. And again, make sure you guys are checking out AoA Reacts for our Jujutsu Kaisen episode 14 live reaction, along with live reactions to things like Attack on Titan, Dr. Stone. That camera died, but it's okay. We got another one.
And I swapped it on the fly because I knew it.
Because Gavin is good like that. All the other reactions for you to enjoy. And lastly, again, make sure you guys are hitting up our merch shop for 20% off every single item in the store until the end of January. Just type in the code AOA 2021. And if you are in a Discord or something like that and you feel comfortable, send us a selfie or something like that through the Discord chat, or just in general, you could tweet at us or whatever. If you get some sweet AoA merch, let us know what you liked about it, what you didn't, and all that kind of stuff. All feedback is appreciated. But until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.
Ninjas and samurais, blazing the cool knives. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.